So American policing descends from the slave patrols, and it's a suppression containment policing that's done to populations that are not meant to be part of the mainstream. So in slavery, you had to keep the slaves on the plantation. The slave patrols did what they call suppression containment. It's also what was done to the Jews in the Jewish ghettos in Europe. And so when you have a system that is actually designed and descended from slavery, it's so deeply embedded in the DNA of American policing that their job is to keep Black people in their place and away from white people and wealthy people. And so out of that policing, you paramilitarize it, and you get aggressive warrior search and destroy policing that serves the larger policy of mass incarceration. So it is a toxic system. It's not about bad apples. It's about a toxic orchard. The entire culture, the entire mission. If you don't change the mission is to make sure that Black people don't come out of the ghetto, that Latino people stay in the barrio, that Native Americans stay on the reservations. When policing has as its mandate the suppression containment of a population, you get what you see in American policing. So if you get better training, it's better training for mass incarceration policing. And I don't think the people marching across the globe are asking simply for the end of murder, police murder with impunity. I don't think they're marching for kinder, gentler mass incarceration or politer search and destroy. I think what the marchers are marching for is that they are revoking their consent for aggressive enforcement, and they're demanding safety, which is not enforcement. They're demanding safety for the poorest of the poor in the highest crime zones. And they're demanding the investment, the refunding of the vitality of those communities. You have to do both. You have to fix your police, which means you have to change their mission, and you have to change their culture. They have a warrior culture of impunity. And that's what you saw when you saw Defendant Chauvin with his knee pressed into Mr. Floyd's neck. He put his hands in his pockets. He looked up at the cell phone camera, and his look said, yeah, I get to do this, and I get to do it because nothing's going to happen to me. That's the warrior culture of impunity. And it has licensed the murders that you see in the shootings of unarmed African American men mainly, by police. So you got to fix two things. It's not enough to change techniques. It's not enough to do implicit bias training. It's not enough to take away their chokehold or their tasers. It's not the weapons. It's not the training. It's the mission, the mindset, and the policies that they enforce. I think that if you have police officers with the right mindset and the right connections to the community, and they're doing the kind of safety, not policing, but delivery of safety that's done in partnership with the community. In other words, if the cops are doing what the local community wants, you don't see these kinds of problems. You see very few officer-involved shootings. And the ones that you do see are of people who are a danger to the community. It's not just rounding up every kid of color in baggy pants and having police that are armed with weapons of mass destruction from wars. I mean, the LA Unified Police, for example, asked if they could accept bayonets. And my question to them was, which children are you going to bayonet? It's gotten that kind of crazy. But disarming police is not going to work because we ask them to risk their lives in serious situations. What we're asking for is you need the warrior kind of policing in very limited circumstances. About 5% of police calls involve rape, murder, robbery, true dangers to community members. My clients who live in Watts, Los Angeles, and in East LA and Pacoima, the poorest areas of LA County, and they live in high gang territories. And they're not asking for no police. They're asking me to create policing that doesn't hunt them, It doesn't lock and put every male member of their family into a prison for life for doing nonviolent crime. They want police who understand that they're policing an area that has been made into a desert, and where there are no rungs for upward mobility, there are no jobs, there's no health care, that the police ought to be a force for helping the community get healthy. And if a healthy community doesn't have the problems, or young people only see power through gangs. So you want that sociological transformation, that community transformation, at the same time you're transforming your police. This is the fourth major national discussion that white Americans have been having about how much racism they're currently comfortable tolerating. At the beginning of the country, they did the compromise, 3/5 of a man. The Civil War, they nominally ended slavery, reinstated it 12 years later at the end of Reconstruction, and instituted and waved in the reign of white supremacy, the lynching, the Black Code, Jim Crow, and the Civil Rights Revolution. They temporarily, once again, did some national laws. That revolution produced some progress, and then they spent the next 40 years undoing those laws and instituting systemic voter suppression. This is the fourth inflection on how much of white supremacy white Americans are going to condone and continue. And for the first time, you're seeing massive movements, not just the Quakers, not just the Jewish community that has always stood with at least leaders in African-American leadership. It's when you see the little white girls with signs saying, shut the whole system down, marching in a pandemic, that's never happened before. So it's influx. I call it the fourth inflection over the redemption of white supremacy, where it's the first Black president. They put a white nationalist in the White House, and white people are now having that discussion. And I think for the first time, the majority of white people in America are saying, okay, we have to make a choice. Oh, okay, we didn't know we were part of the choice. We didn't know that we were in this conversation. It's like watching whales discover they live in water. But now, they're starting to get consciousness. And we'll see where it goes. So it's at a point that I don't think any civil rights leaders recognize. There's an awakening. There's an awakening in many other tribes in America. But this is where we are. We're in an enormous fluctuation, turmoil. The young marchers, leaders who are around the globe have moved the tectonic plates. This is tectonic plate tsunamic level change. It's seismic. And we don't know what the politics are going to ring out. We'll see in November whether they're going to go the white nationalist way or they're going to go with the future, which is a multiracial democracy. Right now, we have an oligarchy with democratic overtones. And we're still perfecting the union as best we can.